Welcome back to the Better Learning Podcast today. We are still sticking with our movie theme for this period of time as we talk to Jay. We're going to dive into the 90s gem, Can't Hardly Wait. Now, Jay, thank you so much for being with us. I greatly appreciate it. We've been ditched by Kevin and by Matt, but early this morning, I was lucky enough to course Jessica, who's one of our newest team members, into joining me as a co-host. So, Jay, tell me about you. Where are you from and what firm are you with?
Yeah, so I'm with LaValle Brensinger. We're architects in New England. We have offices in Boston and Portland and Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm out of Manchester, New Hampshire. Here I'm an architect. I'm also an educational planner. I went through the ALAP course in 2023. So I'm officially certified as an ALAP. So that's really cool. I really lead a lot of projects here in the office. And K-12 is definitely my passion, and hands-on learning such as CTE and other hands-on learning are really what drives me and really, wakes me up in the morning, what makes me want to go to work. Just making spaces for the next generation of learners that they can be inspired to be the next leaders and take over our world.
Yeah, so tell me why did you pick Can't Hardly Wait, right? So for me, I'm old, but this is one of those that it reminded me of like my high school. So the endings, how messy it is, how the jocks turn out to not be so fabulous. And it just reinforced because I made my daughter watch it with me, my 14-year-old, that those people who peak too soon aren't necessarily the ones that you want to be with. But this one was a great one. So why did you pick it?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think it's great because it's a mashup of all different groups. There's all these little cliques, and I think in middle school and the beginning of high school, it's all about finding your tribe, finding the people that you're like, and you're part of these groups. But this movie's really about the breakdown of that. It's the next phase we go through in life when we realize that our cliques aren't so important, that other people and individuals all come together to really make something great. And that's what we see. We see the merging of these different cliques together and their interaction, which really becomes a fun movie. And there's a lot of great music in it. It's a lot of great nostalgia in it. So I think that's what really drove me to the movie. It's that breakdown that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Well, and Jessica, you've seen this before, right?
I have. So I did rewatch it a little bit just to familiarize myself. And I'm so glad I did because there are so many quotes. I was like, I can't think of anything. And then I watched it and was like, oh my God, there's so many great quotes. And so, yeah, so I've seen it before. Love it. Love movies like this that are the whole entirety of the movie is over one night, like very like hangover vibe. Like I love
Yeah.
that type of like setting and that type of dynamic. And so I thought that was really cool too, that the whole movie is really within, a 2 hour time period.
I love that
One.
you said that, Jessica, because let's just do a little quick pop quiz here. I think this style of movie has been done a bunch of times, right? So in the 70s, someone made a movie about the 60s that everything happened in one night. Do you know what movie that is?
Breakfast Club.
Oh, close, close,
No,
close.
what was it?
American Graffiti, the 60s, one night, everyone's out. And
You
then,
know what, Jay? I have to admit, I've never seen that.
Carla, homework, watch that one. And
I
then we had the
Okay, go ahead.
70s version of this, right? Which is Dazed and
Dazed and
Confused,
Confused.
right?
That's what I offered for Matt. I said that's a great
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
That was recorded at my middle school, just so you know.
Oh, no
That
way.
was
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
it was recorded at our middle school. My sisters were in middle school at that time. They're older than me, but it
That's
was
awesome.
recorded there. Yeah.
And then we have the 80s version, which of course is Breakfast Club. Everything happens in that
Oh,
little bit of time, right?
yeah.
And then I think this is the 90s movie of everything coming together in one time. And then I think we go, beyond that, we go to Superbad in 2000s. We go Project X,
Project X.
Book Smart. It's all these like movies that happen in these different time periods of what's happening with these students at this time. And I think this is the perfect example of what was happening in the world at this time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you want another fun fact and I had to Google this, but because I was looking for quotes, because there were so many, but I was on a plane, I didn't have a pen to write it down type of thing. But it was filmed in 20 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't know that until I was like going through the IMDb, and Jay, you had sent a message last night. And truth be told, I just got back from 2 weeks of vacation. So my preparation was watching this on the plane on the way home. But you were like, it has such a great cast. And I'm going, it does have a really amazing cast. but who the hell are they, right? And I couldn't remember all of their names, and then you recognize all of them. But so I went to the IMDb, and I was like, filmed in 20 days is kind of crazy.
That is crazy. To talk about the cast just for a second, the
Oh,
cast is amazing, right?
incredible.
Yeah.
So, and I break into, there's actually like three groups of cast, right? There's the named people. There's 6 people that have names, and their names are spelled out at the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And you've got your Ethan Embry, who's playing Preston Myers, and he was just like the hot guy at that time, coming off Empire Records and Vegas Vacation and all that stuff. And then we didn't really see him after that. And then we had Lauren Ambrose, Jennifer Love Hewitt, right? And then you have Peter Fratelli, Charlie Korsmo, who was William Lichter, who did a ton of stuff before this film and then kind of dropped off the face after this. I mean, he was in What About Bob? He was in Dick Tracy. He was in Hook. He was in all this stuff as a child actor. And then obviously Seth Green that we know.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because they get top billing, and then you have the next group of characters that don't even have like the watermelon guy, Jock number 2, all these people. And like you said, they're all faces that we know today. Like this was Jason Segel's first movie. This was Jamie Presley's first movie. All these people, it's like their first film, and they don't even get their name. And then you have the third group, which I think is even crazier, is they aren't even recognized in the credits. There's like Jerry O'Connell and Breckin Meyer and all these people that they don't even put them in the credits, which is so funny. So amazing cast, like you just said. It's a huge cast.
Yeah, and it was the same kind of, I told you we did Superbad a couple months ago, and there were very similar to that third stage of actors where you're going, I recognize that guy, and he turned out to be like a really big actor later on. We go through these categories, Jay, and so the first one that we look at is like the John Keating Award, and generally speaking, like when we wrote this format, it was looking at the best mentor or teacher. This one doesn't have teachers, not any that I could think of, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that someone else can't be. So who would you nominate for the John Keating Award from this cast?
So that's a very good question. So I've got a couple answers. The answer I'm going to go to first, and I definitely want to hear you guys' answers too. The first answer I'm going to go to, I think Jenna Elfman and Jerry O'Connell are kind of these older souls that come in just for a short period of time and impart some knowledge. I'm sorry, what?
Angel? Is that the angel?
Yes.
Okay.
She's the
Totally
angel dancer. She's she's a dancer, right? So Jenna Elfman comes in and she talks to Preston and kind of like sets him straight, right? That's like his whole arc changes there. And you've got Jerry O'Connor's Trick McNeely, who comes in and sits next to Mike Dexter on the bench and kind of like straightens him out, like, hey, the world's not as great as you think it's going to be. You got to like live in the moment. Yeah. And I think those two characters probably are like the ones that set people back on course. The other one I'll just quickly throw out an honorable mention, I think, is Denise Fleming, the way she kind of steps up and talks to not just Kenny Fisher, kind of puts Kenny Fisher back in his place, but also to Preston. She kind of guides Preston too. So what do you guys think? What do you think?
Yeah, so I had two things. Just Denise, I thought was a person who's always near and dear to my heart because I resonate a little bit with her. She's no nonsense, and she's just like, let me just tell you, you suck. You suck. You did this, and this is what happened. So I liked her, but I think sometimes we don't realize that it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. But I think that the biggest factor and the biggest thing that helped everyone through learn lessons was the party in and of itself, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe that could go to like the other portion of it, which was the homecoming scene, but the overall party in that it taught so many different lessons, even from the girl who was hosting the party to the jock guys who were supposed to break up with their girlfriends, but they weren't going to go along with everything. And so I picked Denise as a person, though.
Yeah. I think one interesting thing with Denise, her opening line, if you remember it, when it first starts, she's like, Preston, don't look back, never look back. And then the guy runs and hits something. She's like, unless you're that guy. But so her whole thing is like, never look back. And then later in the film, she's in the bathroom with Kenny and she's like, you remember we used to play Miami Vice in the basement. When you used to sleep over, we used to have to leave the light on. Kenny Fisher used to buy Valentine's Day card for me and used to buy the little hearts for me. So she's like reminiscing, but it's like totally, she's like changing in her own mind, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah. Jessica, who would your person be?
It was Denise for me too. I definitely, and I forgot her name already, but the angel dancer was one that, like, when I watched it today, I was like, oh my God, pivotal moment. Here it is. Definitely, I love Denise, and I love, Jay, what you were saying too, because I thought Denise was like a mentor to everyone, but then herself. When she was one-on-one, right, she kind of became like more like human, right, and more, this is my age and I'm actually attracted to you, or I have a crush on you, whatever it might be. But I thought her character was so complex throughout this movie, and she would be one where I was like, oh, she was way ahead of her time giving advice.
100%.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and the fact that, she obviously didn't cater to any of the cliques or cater to the different people. She just was unapologetically Denise.
Yeah.
And there's even the scene where she's sitting on the couch and a nerdy girl comes and sits by her and she's like, I don't remember what it was, but basically like, I told you she went to the school. She had asked a question and like what class they were in, like science lab or something.
Yeah.
And so to the point that people in the school didn't necessarily recognize her because she's just sort of this person who's like, I don't really give a crap.
Yeah.
Which she's also kind of the wallflower that kind of people may have walked right by that didn't necessarily see her.
Yeah. So this movie had cliques on top of cliques. And when we look at the clique component of the podcast, we're looking at like what iconic stereotypes were reinforced in the movie. And it's pretty much like every iconic stereotype. Even there was even cowboys, right? Like the band guy had the cowboy hat on and whatever else. But like, are they realistic or are they idealized? And do you think that they could exist in a real school setting?
I'll jump in first. Jessica, you can go next. But yeah, I think they're all over the top, but I think they all do exist, right? And I think we talked a little bit about it. It's not so much the cliques, but it's the breakdown of the merging of the two cliques. You got the jocks and the nerds that become friends, playing piano together and talking. You've got the popular, very popular girl, and then the poetic guy, and eventually they get together. And you got the wallflower, and then a new type of genre that I don't think we've seen in any other film before this, which is like that wannabe gangsta, which is, it's the first time I think we've seen that stereotype in a film, and there it is. And growing up, there were those kids in my school too. They're there. So
now, Jay, where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Hampshire, Southern Hampshire, so just outside Boston. So it's just funny, very funny.
No, I thought so too. Jessica? Absolutely. And what I loved about the cliques, I completely agree with Jay. Like, this is very, to some degree, I feel like still apparent. I do feel like there's a more mix, right, in the new day and age school. But it's still there. What I loved about it, and I'm sure we'll dive into it, is that each clique kind of went through this vulnerability within themselves. Like, I think of that band and like, I don't even think they actually played a song, right? Like, they actually don't go to tuition because they fight and then they like make up and break the band up and then have the t-shirts. And it was just like every clique, and even Mike, like misery loves company, right? Like, he's trying to get his friends to break up with their girlfriends because like there was such vulnerability in every clique that I love to see that. But definitely can see where, it's still pretty predominant to what you see in high school now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the other one that we don't talk about is William, right? That was the name of the singer guy. Is that William?
The singer? Oh, yeah. Yes. He becomes the singer, yes.
No, William's the nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, William's a nerd, but he ended up like getting up on stage and
right. He sang, yes.
Yeah.
And he had his little cronies up on the top, and he was that nerd in that clique who was idolized because you could you heard him like, oh, William, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I've got this chart. I'm not going to drink too much. I know exactly how many drinks. And then, he drinks a beer and he's like, it's rotten. But
the beer is rotten.
The beer is bad. Like, nobody drink the beer.
No, it ain't that way. Like, you have to. But even in that clique, right? Like, there was the sort of the superiority and that arc and everything else, and you kind of saw the breakdown, especially in the end when they jumped out and they roast him in the pictures.
beyond the cliques and stereotypes, the other thing I absolutely loved about this film, most films you have maybe a dozen songs or something. There were like over 50, over 60, 55, 60 songs in this. It was song after song after song. And every time a new character was introduced, a new type of music was brought in. So like you have when you first meet Mike Dexter and his friends, you hear this Creed's ode, like this almost this very dark,
Yeah.
sinister song. And then when he walks in the party, Mike Dexter walks in and it turns to More Human Than Human by Rob Zombie, which is like, kind of like a crazy thing. And then you've got when Jenny Love Hewitt walks in, it's this like Six Underground by Sneaker Pimps. There's every different song. And then obviously Kenny Fisher, you've got all this like rap music, you got Busta Rhymes. And so I loved how the music followed the characters as they moved through the movie, which I thought was kind of interesting too.
I just had to pull up pictures of the cast because I just am not bright enough to follow along with.
I'm sorry. So Kenny Fisher,
Nope.
obviously, Seth Green
Yeah.
as the wannabe gangsta.
Oh yeah.
I didn't actually think about what song as they're entering. I thought this soundtrack, though, which I know we'll get into, was so unique because it was so alternative rather than like poppy, kind of like hits on the radio, like, 10 Things I Hate About You. I know that soundtrack. I was actually looking back like, oh, I know Eve 6, but like I didn't actually like Smash Mouth, Eve 6, like you said, Ron Zombie, Space Monkeys, Blink-182, like those are alternative type of songs too. There weren't, and like, because it didn't do that well when it first came out. And that the songs was actually, and like that soundtrack was one thing that I was thinking about of like, I wonder if that affected it. Cause there were some songs I recognized, but even myself, I know that there are some where I was like, I've never heard this before.
Well, Jessica, you bring up something kind of interesting because you said it didn't do well when it came out. And I know Kevin typically asks, what do you think the IMDb rating of this thing is? So did you guys already research this? So you know where it sits in the IMDb ranking of films? You guys
I looked at I haven't looked at this website until today. So I looked at it, but I did see that it was like half, like a 6.5. Now, what is a normal rate though? Like a like a super bad or something, would that be higher? Because I thought that was low. I also I don't know any of my friends who would name this as like, a top 10 or something type of movie where like Dazed and Confused, like I said, 10 Things I Hate About You are just like so predominant.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I was wondering if that had changed over time, that 6.5, if it got higher or lower over time, how it plays into it. One of the interesting things you could do with IMDb, though, if you look at what US rated it 6.7. So US rated it higher than most of the other places. But I thought it was really funny that Sweden had ranked it 5.9, which I thought was kind of funny because the foreign exchange student in the movie is from Sweden, and they totally make fun of him the whole movie. And I wonder if that plays into the fact that the Swedish people didn't like this movie because they made fun of him.
Well, and then you have the difference between Rotten Tomatoes too, right? Like, so outside of IMDb, what is the Rotten Tomatoes, which that's 42%. So it's really pretty low. But I don't think that it was, when we say it's iconic, I think it's because I'm old. Sorry, Jay, you're old too. Jessica, you're not.
I am too.
We'll just own it. Like, this is the year my daughter was born. She's now 27. So we're just going to do the math there and realize like it just is what it is. But we kind of talk class clown.
Yeah.
Which
who do you
I
think?
we could. I'm going to bet we all have the same person.
Ooh, I've got kind of two. Go ahead, Carla. You go first.
You have two?
Yeah.
I have Kenny just because he's so stupid. That's not a nice word, but he's such a ding dong, and you see him every single time he comes in with his goggles. Like, what is that? What is happening? Although, Denise made fun of his shoes, and I would like to roast her for that because I think he had on some Nike Air Maxes or something when he was there. They were not crazy.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, they were not crazy. I thought they were great, but that's on Denise. But I think Kenny Fisher.
Definitely, I would agree. Jessica, do you have anyone else you'd add to that?
So I thought about him. It's funny because actually now that you're bringing up the foreign student, I'm thinking of him because he would roast people throughout the movie without knowing it, right? Like his one-liners were always like, let me just cheer on everyone else. And it was kind of making fun of someone. I think Kenny, because when I think class clown, I think like that persistent. I'm going to continue to make these jokes, whether they fall, whether they're not. And that was Kenny through the whole movie. Like he did not care. My favorite line, I know we'll get into quotes, is like, 10 lucky ladies. Which of my 10 lucky ladies is going home with me? And like the girl walks by him and ignores him. He's like, all right, 9 lucky ladies. 9 lucky ladies. And I'm just like, that is the epitome of just like persistence and just like, yeah, okay, you don't like me, that's fine. We're just gonna knock it down to 9.
He didn't even try, though. He just said something to her and she just walked by.
It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
He definitely him. Who else you got, Jay? You had a second one?
My runner-up was William Lecter, the nerd.
Okay.
I thought his dry sense of humor was just so funny in the way he delivered everything. The beer is bad. Nobody drink the beer. It's just all the scenes he were in, which is so funny. And obviously his change through the movie of I can't feel my legs, and then he's up dancing, and he's like everyone's like, first get down, nerd, and then they're all cheering him on, and then the girls want to go to the makeout closet with him, and he's like he becomes in that short song changes, and I just thought that was really funny that he becomes the circle everyone wants to be with.
Oh yeah.
I think the best scene with him though was the jock and him at the piano when they're drunk and the jock's crying, and he's like, "Hey, so that time I tripped you in front of the whole class." He's like, "I don't know when that was, but I'm sorry." And he seemed like very remorseful, right? He goes, "That was just today at graduation.
That was this morning at graduation." Yeah.
That was a really good one.
It's in the past, no problem. I was like, but it didn't click that he had his cronies up on top of the garage waiting to roast him as payback for that. Like there was just no anyway. So I can get on board with William.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at like homecoming scene, right? Like the iconic moment, I do think it's pretty much the whole movie. You have tons and tons of these throughout it. Yeah. What do you think yours is, Jay?
100% agree. It's the whole movie. I mean, the whole movie is it. I think you've got a couple parts in the movie where, again, that William Lecter, the Guns N' Roses song comes on. He's like, the guy I used to tutor used to make me listen to this. And he knew all the words and he sung along, and it kind of changed the whole attitude of the party. The whole Amanda and Preston, when they finally meet up, that's like kind of a, one of those romantic things. Or when Mike Dexter becomes the social downfall of the middle of the party, It's like, oh, that's a big change. And then obviously Denise and Kenny, when they reconnect in the bathroom upstairs, it really shows their vulnerability of being real people.
I completely agree. I loved, and we haven't talked about Amanda. I wrote down Amanda is one of the most complex characters, I think, of this movie. And we literally haven't talked about it because she is such sideline. Her telling Mike off, I think I rewound it. I was like, this was such a great moment. And like, even her talking to like that second cousin, like weird thing that happened of like, I don't know why I dated him. She was just saying things that like as a high school student, I wasn't thinking about. And she was so complex that I loved that moment where like the party stops, Mike becomes the villain. She's like, I'm over this, the cops come right after, kind of break it up. So I really loved that moment as like a pivotal moment in the movie for sure. And it really
made out with her cousin.
Yeah, right. I was like, that weird cousin thing happening. Only by marriage.
Yeah.
The weird cousin thing. Yeah, no, for sure. I think I go back to William seeing Paradise City. There's the chaos of it, but at the same time, like he just shows his personality and his capabilities of being who he is. Because at the end of the movie, what they talk about, but that comes later in these. And then I think too, the Preston and Amanda's late night, the letter moment where like she sees that letter and she reads it and then she goes and she tells off the jock, right? And I think that is the most, to me, that's the most pivotal one outside of the stripper angel.
Dancer. She was a dancer.
She did just go to a bachelor party where she was vomited on, but we digress, Jay.
She corrects him. I'm a dancer.
When we work with schools at K-12, it's not just about furniture design, it's about impact. Our radically student-centered approach puts students at the center of every decision. From that first conversation to the final walkthrough, we're focused on creating spaces that actually work for the kids, the teachers, and the community. So if you're looking to do more than just check a box on your next project, let's talk. Visit K12.com. That's KAY-TWELVE.com and see how we're helping schools transform learning one student at a time. Because at K-12, it's not just about projects and furniture, it's about purpose.
One-liners, though. This one had so many, although I do wonder, because of the lack of popularity of the movie, were they actually truly one-liners that can like supersede the history of the movie, or are they just like great one-liners within it? I always think of, and I kind of have said it to my kids when we talk about the whole, when people peak too soon, it's not always the best thing. When Denise tells, oh my gosh, what's his name?
Carrie
Anyways, the main
Fisher.
character, you can't
Oh,
just be the guy who's in
Preston.
love. Yeah, you can't just be the guy who's in love with Amanda Beckett, right?
Yeah.
Like there's more to you than that, and the recognition that like there's more to you than a relationship, and Amanda realizes it in one of the scenes too. But I really liked that one. That's the only one that I could think of because I didn't take notes on the plane. How about you, Jay?
I've got a couple. I mean, I thought some were really funny that always stand out, and I do use them, especially like, nobody drink the beer. The beer has gone
Oh,
bad.
yeah, that's true.
That's a funny one. Or Kenny, he's like, girl, why you gotta waste my flavor?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
It's
such good
just,
like comedic timing too,
yeah.
right?
There's a great line, and I love how the director did this. They took the line from three different people, say different parts of it. So it's like, Mike Dexter is a god. Mike Dexter is a role model. Mike Dexter is an a-hole. It's like it's different perspectives of the same person, and it was really cool how they delivered that series of lines back to back with the cut in between. And then there's obviously, dude, I can't feel my legs. I have no legs. Before he starts, dancing there, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But I think probably the most like profound one is when the angel dancer, says, "There's fate. It can only take you so far, because once you're there, you have to make it happen." I think that has a lot to say. It's up to you to actually take the next step and to go out and do stuff.
She did also think he was in love with who was it? Like
Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow.
The
yeah,
Manilow.
if you love Barry Manilow, tell him. And he's like, it's not like that. But
Yeah.
how about you, Jessica?
Yeah, I had this. I didn't know the whole line, but what the angel had said to him, I knew it was something about fate. And fate comes in again at the end too, right? Where it's like fate just works in mysterious ways, and they go back and forth. But do you believe in fate and do you not? I liked that concept.
Denise says it, yeah.
Right? But like, yeah, Denise says it. But I love Kenny's character. I love Seth Green. I think that I'm just impartial to him as well. Like he is such a great actor. I even like I won't watch Family Guy, but I will for like I think Chris is funny. Like that's who. It's just his timing, his comedic performance. And so when I love love stories, like little things entwined. So of course Kenny and Denise, for me, I had to spend time on that. And I love them in the bathroom, and he's like, they're jabbing at each other, and he's talking about his Nikes and these stupid goggles, and he looks at her shoes and is like, is there an orthopedic purpose for this? and she like immediately takes them off, which I love because they mean something to each other. They're crushing on each other. They want to look a certain way, which I thought was funny. But like the way he delivers it, he just looks at it as like, well, is there an orthopedic purpose for that? Is just like,
and then he tells her feet stink.
Yeah, like right afterwards. It's very high school, but the way that he delivers, I think all of his lines were he was a great character in this for sure.
I agree with you. Those were great lines. I liked also just a weird timing one. Trip McNeely, when he said he's given the advice, he's like, "That's the best advice I can give you." Oh, and bring rubber flip flops for the shower. I got warts all over my feet when he's talking about going to college. It's like, it's just such funny one-liners.
They are. Well, so overall, right? So the idea that every high school stereotype converges into like one giant mansion party. The whole concept of the movie, obviously, Jay, you pointed out that in every decade, there seems to be one of these that stands out, but is it realistic? I'm inclined to say, I'll follow up after y'all.
Go ahead, Jessica. You can go first.
Yeah. I don't think it's unrealistic to have certain things that happen in that movie, right? To have a big party where multiple different people are involved. Don't think that's unrealistic at all. Like I said, even when I walk into a space, I look for people I'm more comfortable with. So whether you call it a clique or not, I think that is ideal when you go, it is true when you go into a party or into a situation where, there's drinking, there's maybe drug use or something, like you're going to go to people that are comfortable for you. So that absolutely. And like just the little, there is still those people in high school who just are undevoted, like wear their heart in their sleeves. And he wrote this beautiful letter. And like, what's so funny with Preston throughout the whole movie is that's all he's focused on. Like other people are trying to talk to him about how he's leaving tomorrow and like, congratulations. And all he wants is to just make sure that Amanda has this letter and that he's able to speak with her. And I, again, love. So I think that's very, very realistic. I think, overall, like some of the language, some of the situations that are in, I think that we've evolved a little bit since then. But other than that, I do think, that this is a very typical, you're graduating. This was after graduation, right? This was the day after graduation. You're not going to see these people anymore. Like those type of moments, whether they're at a house party or, after physical graduation or, at the street, at a, bowling alley, whatever it might be for your situation, like those really do happen, which I loved that. And I liked that it was very realistic and just like a fun, good-hearted movie. Like, I'm not leaving being like, oh, I'm traumatized now, or like I have to decompress after watching it. Like it was a fun movie.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, they're over the top stereotypes of all these people, right? But it could happen, and I think it still does happen in different cliques getting together and having a good time. So I think it's somewhat realistic.
So I have so many high school parties that are like this that I can talk to y'all about. So I do think it's realistic. And even the high school party where, this really posh family goes and this girl behind her parents' back throws a party and they destroy her house, right? Like, I mean, I attended one of those parties where there were holes in the walls, and it's just like, what is happening here? But I think the overall component of it were more so to me, like the emotional themes that are identified throughout it, which is, identity. So we don't identify, you had Amanda talk about like my whole identity is this relationship because it's what I walked into. And like, there is more to me than just like, I am so-and-so's girlfriend. The sense of self-worth and belonging. I think that all of those concepts are definitely spot on. I don't necessarily know like now if a house party like this would be realistic. Social media puts a stop to it. Like I have a high schooler. I just couldn't even imagine it. I'm sure it does, but I just couldn't even imagine it happening now. But
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes you to the next part, the iPhone effect of how this would play into today, right? How would this movie really change?
Oh my God. William would be like a viral internet sensation up there. Oh, absolutely. Right. To have that whole thing. Oh my God. He would go viral in a second for sure. I think to Carla's point, for like, there would definitely be a lot of groundings after this. You're right. Like this, social media and everything. I mean, that's out there. But like, it's kind of like, that karaoke aspect type thing. I'm like, oh, that could, the iPhone and social media could only enhance that.
I think the whole being able to find a payphone to talk to Barry Manilow wouldn't have happened. He would have had a phone, so he would have missed the whole the angel dancer. He would have missed that whole conversation.
Would there even be a letter, right? Would there be a letter?
Right.
Or something like physical, you're kind of chasing around the party, right?
I think he's the hopeless romantic, though, so I think he would
always be pen and paper. There's a poem in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm a pen and paper gal, Jessica, still to this day. But I do wonder, right, not to go back to it, what the hell did the letter say? It never said what it said.
No.
Or did it?
I think he describes it to Denise at one point of like it, because I remember here like it's about her and just like, this is how I perceive you. Do you perceive yourself this way type of thing? But you're right. Like we never read it though. We never get the full, what did he actually say in it?
No.
There's a part in the film that he pours his heart out, right? He's talking about the letter.
Guy.
Well, yeah, right. So he pours his heart out. He breaks the fourth wall. He's looking at the camera. He does the whole thing, and then that's for exchange.
We won't say what he said, but I was like, nice one. Nice way to break that one up, buddy.
best way to break that whole tense scene. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I won't go through the substitution of class because there's some of those that it's just kind of like I just, not that it's not important, you guys, but I just don't even think so. And then Jay, we've talked so much about the music. Are you a music guy?
I am a music guy. Yeah, I was at this time. I was a station manager and a music director at a college radio station. So yes, so the music
Stop
definitely
it.
stands up to me. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So I think the music's huge. Everything from I think Jessica, you said Eve 6. You know, the beginning part of the opening riff that just kicks off the movie, and then it becomes like this building thing that happens right at the beginning of the movie as you introduce all the characters. It's just building, and it's awesome. And I love how each of the characters has a song that comes in. One of my favorite Easter eggs, and I don't think I've heard anyone ever talk about this, is so there's so many songs in the film. When they show up to the party, and that's Preston and Denise, they're in the car, and the Barry Manilow song comes on. Right before that, they show up, and that you can hear the party music in the background. Did anyone, do you remember that scene before they
Oh,
talk about
golly.
the Barry
The
Manilow?
background music, let's talk about it.
So it's really interesting. You hear the party going, you hear the music going, and it's Jennifer Love Hewitt's own song that she sung in I Know What You Did Last Summer. She had like an album and a soundtrack, which I think is absolutely a riot that the director put that song in as the party song when everyone arrives, because it's such a tie to such an Easter egg that this is her own song that she's going to show up at the party later.
I saw that she had a song. Like I was looking at the list and was like, oh my God, she sang a song, but I didn't know where it was.
Yes,
I
it's so
forgot that she
funny.
did I think she did a whole album, didn't she?
Yes, yeah, and that was the hit on it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot about that, Jay. She was so adorable though, and she was in so many of those movies. The other one with the guy who, oh God, he played in Scooby Doo. What is his name?
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie. I almost said Teddy, but it was Freddie. Yep, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Teddy somebody, but Freddie. Yeah. So she played in so many of those movies that are great.
I love.
Well,
you know what I also think about the music with the alternative? It's making me think that group, right? Preston, Denise is also like that alternative little portion of it. And so it's interesting to think of how they picked music, because I was looking for like a hit, something like, something that was a little bit bigger there, which was interesting. And also a cinematic tactic I loved, and we haven't talked about it, is the beginning, the senior superlatives to introduce each character. And then the ending, I love a good wrap up ending. A good ending where it's like they're together, or like, Mike went off and I think it was like he lost his scholarship. Like that is such a cinematic move that makes my heart happy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where are they now? We know where they are because they've already told us. That's great.
I know. That's why I was saying like we're going to come to that after, and that goes to the whole thing of like the jocks peak, right? Sometimes people peak in high school, and that's just where it's at. And then you had William goes on to develop a website. He sells it for millions or billions of dollars. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Denise and Freddie broke up, but then they found a bathroom and got back together shortly thereafter.
Kenny Fisher. Yeah.
But some of it was so funny, right? So you kind of where they are.
Yeah. No, I like that they said that. One interesting thing, you talked about how they showed the yearbook photo and they kind of said, the things that they had next to them. One of the little things that I think the director missed here is they show the 6 main characters, they show each of their things, which is interesting. Later, when Melissa Joan Hart, again, her first big screen debut of the girl that signed my yearbook, she's like, Denise, how come you didn't get your photo taken? Well, I saved a special spot in the back for you to sign or something like that, right? So why did they show her picture and her whole thing at the beginning if she's not actually in the yearbook? So I just thought it was a little glitch they messed up there.
Yeah, messed up.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Anyways, the songs were great, though. I think, Graduate from Third Eye Blind was in this. Obviously, the Barry Manilow song.
Well, you have Smash Mouth, too.
Smash Mouth was throughout, tons of times in it. Can't Hardly Wait by The Replacements. Paradise City by, Guns N' Roses, which was a great one. Love Burger. They never actually played a song, but it was just great that they were up there doing that. The one song that I thought was really cool, and maybe you caught this too, it's Farther Down Matthew Sweet. It's such a simple song, and they play it like 4 times in the movie. Every
Oh, wow.
time the letter comes up. So the part where he's talking to the foreign exchange student, it's played instrumentally. The part where Amanda's sitting on the couch reading the letter, it's played at that time. And then finally, when they get together at the end, the same song plays again, and it's that same song. So I thought it was great how the director took that song and broke it up and put it throughout the whole movie. So I thought that
That's
was pretty
awesome.
interesting about the movie.
That's really cool.
Well, I mean, great choice, right? Like when you look at it, the movie as a whole, you think about like how do you wrap that up? And I think that every single time we look at ourselves as people, we look at the places that we're in, and the question is who am I now that that chapter is over? And this happens throughout our lives over and over again. And I think this movie has that iconic question of like, where are you at when this chapter is over and what's next? And then two, is that we're not identified by necessarily our experiences or what we do or our past. It's identified by who we are as individuals, and not outwardly what people see and perceive. So I think that was like wrapping up the movie, what I always think it is a great takeaway of what is next. So that leaves me to say, Jay, like what is next? Like what sort of, as we leave the movie behind us and we talk about like what's exciting, is there a special project that you're working on? Is there something that you have,
How does this tie into the rest of my world, right?
well,
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
does it and doesn't it, right?
Yeah, it does. It totally does. So one of the things I said at the beginning, one of my passions is really creating spaces where students can be engaged. And I think what I absolutely love is creating hands-on spaces. And I love CTE, which is career tech and hands-on. And one of the things I also absolutely love is I've been doing a lot of CTE centers recently, career technical education centers. And you have these cliques. You have the students who are more auto focused, and they become a clique, and they have a similar mindset, and they do things together. You have the culinary students who are working together, and they have a similar mindset. But I love creating spaces or spaces within spaces or spaces outside spaces that allow their different cliques to be able to interact together. And I think it becomes so much more powerful when the marketing team can work with the auto team to create a website to help promote their auto oil change thing, or the culinary can come in and offer a lunch that when someone's getting your oil change, it's these connections or these collaborations that happen between them, which I think gives students more a well-rounded real life experience of how we can collaborate with not just the students in my space, but the greater space. So that is really what I'm doing right now that I'm really loving, and I'm hoping we see more and more of that, and more people embrace that, because these spaces that we're creating are flexible, and they can be moved and they can be changed depending on what they need. So it's not such a specialized space. So I'm seeing a lot of that right now, and I'm loving that.
Yeah. Now, what do you do outside of work? Like, what's your favorite hobby?
My favorite hobby. I love building things. So that's one of the things I always feel like my kids, where we built a treehouse, we built a swing set.
Okay.
Always construction is kind of one of the things that we're always doing. But I love music, and there's just a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, my kids keep me pretty busy at the moment of this period in life right now.
Now, what are their ages? Are they younger or what?
Yeah, so I have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. So they're,
Okay.
right in that middle school, high school age right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're about to experience some can't hardly wait in your life pretty
Yeah, I
soon.
don't think my kids will be in that boat, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate it. And like as we're wrapping up, like looking back at our can't hardly wait, I think this was a great movie for me. It reminded me of when I was younger, obviously. So thanks, Jay, for putting this one on the table. And of course, Jessica, for being on my last minute co-host. I appreciate you. But if you enjoyed today's episode of the Better Learning Podcast, we ask you to go to betterlearningpodcast.com and subscribe to it. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope that you guys have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
The Better Learning Podcast is produced by Matt Rogers and edited by Callie Jones. The views and opinions shared on this podcast are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily represent the perspectives of their affiliated companies, organizations, or associations.